Now, last night KILLY dropped a new EP titled KILLSTREAK, and of course, since it is KILLY, I've already listened to it about 1,000,000 times now, so I thought in this video we could actually go over every single track. I'll give you my personal breakdown on what I think about him, and of course at the end I'll give my overall opinion of the KILLSTREAK EP. Now, without wasting any time, let's get started. So the first song on here is called Chupacabra, and let me just say that KILLY definitely came correct with the energy on this one. I'm really impressed with the kind of intensity he showed from the get-go. I've never really seen him as an artist who can just suddenly turn on that aggressive mode, but clearly it does seem like he has that in him. You could say that the instrumental on here isn't directly hurting him, it's definitely 100% pushing the enjoyment level of this track to the max. I really enjoyed the very simple but melodic hook on here. I think that's actually one strength he has as an artist. Pretty much all of his hooks seem to have a very memorable but catchy vibe to them, and I think it is a good thing to not complicate it way too much, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But let's move on to the next song, which is Too Fly for No Thotty, Everybody. I love this one. This right here is definitely the hit of the entire EP. I think he did a good job on capturing his main sound on this track, and he did that while delivering something that's not only catchy, but it actually has a lot of replay value. This is the quote-unquote celebration record of this track. At least that's what it kind of sounds like to me. Some of the lyrics on here is KILLY kind of just bigging himself up and bragging about his success, which is not a topic that he's too unfamiliar with because we've seen him do it on other different records. But let's move on to the next song, which is Earned It. Now, Earned It is pretty much the happy kind of track on the EP, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't really too big of a fan of this track. The thing is, I think KILLY really shines when he taps into that dark mode in himself. If you've listened to his Surrender Your Soul project, then you know that most of the music on there is him reminiscing on things, whether that be people who switched up on him, success he didn't have in the past that he now has, or another one which is a big theme in his music overall, revenge. But that's not something I'm getting from this track right here. There's not a whole lot that pulls me in or captures me like the other songs on here. This track right here is a little bit too much in the middle for me personally. I don't think it's too much of anything, which might be the issue here. But let's move on to the next song, which is Hellraiser. Now, speaking of not being too much of anything, here we have too much aggressiveness, which I'm definitely a fan of. Just like the intro Chupacabra, there's some crazy intensity up in here, and I don't know what KILLY did to his voice on this record, because along with the auto-tune, it sounds a little bit raspy, which gave this very demonic effect. It's definitely the more fast-paced track up in here, and it's a banger. But let's move on to the next song, which is also the last one, and that is Beautiful Part 2. I think we gotta take a moment to salute KILLY for doing his ad-libs on such a slow song. My man's pulled it off, and that's all that matters. But shit, this is definitely my favorite track on here, no question. Never did I think I'd hear a KILLY song that would get me in my feelings. But his performance on this track is nothing but great. Nothing makes me happier than seeing an artist who doesn't have a quote-unquote good singing voice pull off something like this. On a side note, it really reminds me of how well Denzel Curry performed on the intro of his album, Taboo, where he gave us some very unexpected vocals, and I think the same thing is happening here. Very refreshing and dope to see that KILLY isn't afraid to step outside of his box and try something different like this. The entire atmosphere of this last song is very much dreamy, especially on the hook. The best thing about it is the fact that it doesn't sound like anything I've heard from him before, and even better, he completely nailed the very soft and soothing feeling the track was supposed to have. Just listening to it, it sounds like one of those moments where he had an idea in his head, executed on it, and it ended up being nothing but a success. Now, that's my breakdown of every single song, but in general, what do I personally think about this KILLSTREAK EP by KILLY? Well, first of all, it's very obvious that he's breaking the pattern of those dark themes in his music that I was talking about earlier. This project seems way more lighthearted than anything I've heard from him before. I like the very obvious contrast there was between tracks like Hellraiser and Beautiful Part 2, and of course with Chupacabra and Everybody, he started off KILLSTREAK with a bang. If I had to pick my favorite and my least favorite from here, of course my favorite would be Beautiful Part 2, and my least favorite has to be Earned It. Now, I know a lot of people are comparing this to Surrender Your Soul, which I think is amazing by the way, but considering this is an EP that has pretty much only 5 songs, I didn't really go into it expecting a whole lot of variety, and I really think that the purpose of this KILLSTREAK EP is something that's gonna serve as an appetizer. It's gonna hold over the fans until the big things come later. Now, that's of course my personal opinion on this new KILLSTREAK EP by KILLY, but what do you personally think about it? Are you personally a fan of it? Do you maybe have any favorite songs from here? Of course, give me your opinion on the EP in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about this.